Welcome to the long-awaited video about my favorite art supplies. Hello, my name is Veronica, aka Vespertilio. I am an Italian comic book author, tarot and oracle deck creator, and your spooky art teacher.
It's me again, yours truly.
Welcome back! I have a lot of ideas of new videos I want to bring to you. I am currently working on my comic book project, which, spoiler for the next comic book project update, I have officially surpassed the halfway point. But I need to warm up again with YouTube. So I thought, let's finally talk about all of my art supplies, because this is something a lot of people constantly ask me about. People are really curious about and ask me about those pretty frequently. So today I'm going to just break it down to you. This is not going to be a review video, and none of the products I'm going to talk about are sponsored. This video is not sponsored, okay? I'm going to divide this video in two parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about the art supplies that I use for work, which are significantly less in number in comparison to the ones we'll see in the second part of this video, which are the art supplies that I'm using for fun, okay? So we're going to talk about those two aspects of my artistic production and artistic expression. Let's start right away, okay? So let's start really strong with the tools I use for work. You asked me about my pen constantly. This is my baby. Now it is a bit patchy. She's very well loved, and therefore I had to make some adjustments. I had to add some tape on the base here of this final part, and on the base of the cap. The tip was getting dry pretty frequently, and that is not good for fountain pens, because this is the fountain pen I use for not only for work. Honestly, I also use it for fun because I use it inside of my sketchbook. We'll talk about this later. So this is my baby, and this is, I'm going to show it to you on camera while I tell you, the Preppy Platinum fountain pen EF02. You ask me about this like all the time. So this is the one. I've been using this pen for more than a year at this point. I do not refill it with ink and like a tool to put the ink back. I use cartridges. Carbon ink cartridges by Platinum. Those are the ones that I use, and this is how they look like. You remove it from the pen and put the new one, and the little metal ball will go inside and the ink will be able to flow through your pen. Depending on what I'm working on, I will go through those pretty quickly, or they would also last me for a very long time. 4 of these can last me, I think the longer they have lasted me is a couple of months. Now I am using the pen for my comic book project, and so I'm using it pretty heavily. They might also last me less than a month. It really depends on how much I'm using the pen and for what I'm using the pen. Speaking of my comic book project, I've never worked like this. I have to be honest with this. All of my previous comic book projects, they were either done digitally or on sheets of paper. But I wanted to work on this book, on a book, and so I'm using this one. I thrifted this and I personalized the cover myself. Moleskine Art Collection sketchbook. This is the size is A4, and this has 165 grams acid-free paper. And this is the surface on which I'm working. I'm going to show you this spread I did. Yes, so this was done mainly with this pen, but when I have to fill those larger surfaces, I actually switch to the Ohuhu pens, sorry. So I use both the fine liner set and the calligraphy set. I switch between the 08 from the calligraphy set and the 05 from the fine liner set. Those two are the pens that I use when I have to fill large surfaces with deep hatching, those kind of surfaces in my pages, I then use these pens. I love these pens. Those are other pens always from the same sets. So those are the Ohuhu sets for fine liners and calligraphy set. The last thing I have to show you work-wise are the pencils. Right now, it's been, again, more than a year since I got this pen and since I started my journey with drawing directly pen on paper with this very pen. Therefore, on my sketchbook, I only work with this pen when I draw for fun. But work-wise, especially when this project, I'm doing it by myself, even though I have an editor now, but we'll talk about this in the comic book project update. But I still prefer to lay out my pages with pencil first. So I sketch my page. I don't go much in detail because I still prefer to work that out directly in the inking stage, but I lay out my pages with the pencil. This pencil is an HB pencil from Flying Tiger Copenhagen. So when you get into a Flying Tiger store, there are these packs with, I think, 10, 12 pencils. It's not actually an art supplies store. They have a section for art supplies and a section for like office school supplies, and you can get those pencils. And those are the HB pencils from Flying Tiger Copenhagen. And this is the only type of pencil I've been using for a very, very long time at this point. So that closes the part about my work. The only other thing I use is my iPad, which is an iPad Pro from 2020, and I use that for like more urgent works. But for my own graphic novel, I'm working traditionally, and those are the tools that I'm using. So work-wise, those are my favorite art supplies. Now, let's immediately move on to the second part of this video, which is about the art supplies I use for fun. Now, in one of my most recent videos, I'll put it right here, I showed you a bunch of art pieces that I've been creating lately, like this one right here and more. So if you want to watch me talk about the art process behind all of these art pieces, I highly recommend you watch this video. I really focused on working on my comic books, so I didn't do much more for fun throughout the rest of June. But I want to start a series of art I created month by month. So I will do a video about art I created in July, and I'll include those few pieces I've done in the last part of June as well. And lately, I really got passionate about experimenting with the tools I have available. Throughout this last year, with my YouTube channel growing significantly, companies started reaching out to me to send me products for ads or reviews, etc. And I've ended up collecting a lot of stuff that I wouldn't use because, as you know, I primarily work just ink on paper. Especially since I started working directly pen on paper, this is my main production. And at first I was like, there's no way I'm going to use those. Like, there's no way. So I started gifting them to friends of mine. And then there's the young daughter of my parents' neighbor who's into art, and I gifted her a set and a big sketchbook as well. So I started giving those away because I didn't want to sell them. And also, if I have to be honest, very honestly, I like the idea of gifting art supplies to people who enjoy making art. Like, my mission is to get as many people as possible to embrace their artistic self and to make art for the sake of making art and for fun. And if that brings them to a career, that's great. But my main goal in life is convince people that it is okay for them to make art and to enjoy making art. But I ended up with a couple sets left, and I was like, you know what? Let me just use them. Let me just see what comes out of it. And you can see a lot of my experiments in the video I just suggested to you. So go check it out to see all of those pieces. Now I'm going to show you my most recent ones, and then I'm going to move to the supplies I've used for those. I've been extremely drawn to acrylic markers. I prefer acrylic markers to alcohol markers. With my aesthetic and with my technique, acrylic markers work better. For example, lately I've done this page, which is like a grimoire / illuminated book page. Then I made this one as well with a lot of silver. I'm really into metallic markers, like silver and gold. I'm really into those. I'm going to talk about those in a second. The process for this one was pretty interesting because I was cleaning up brushes tips and I started building up this gradient, and then I did my character, the moon. It ended up being so pretty. And then of course I still sketch with pen and do pen on paper pieces. Another thing I've been really into lately is drawing on rocks. So I started with this one right here, the same Ohu markers like fine liners and calligraphy markers for the drawing, and then I would use acrylic markers for the rest. And for acrylic markers, I'm using both Artex acrylic markers and Ohu acrylic markers. But I want to show you the results that I get with those products, so then you can decide for yourself if you want to give those a try. So again, I've been drawing on rocks. Those are other rocks I've played with. Very pretty. And then so this is my cauldron. So more rocks from the Cauldron of Mysteries. I have this little witch right here. Very pretty. Let me see if I can. This is my character Vespertilio on a pink rock. Then we have these purple one with Vespertilio and a spiral. Then I did those at my parents' house. I did this one with W with the silver ribbon on her head. And then that same night, I think, yes, I did this green one with Vespertilio. And I also did this one, which was a bit too rough to make elaborated drawings, characters, etc. So I just made a little silver moon and a little bat. The day I did this by the beach, and this was the day I also did the moon. And by the way, I did those on a piece of paper from a bag from a thrifted item I got on Vinted. And they had wrapped it in the bag. I think it was a Zara bag, paper bag, but I used it to make the moon. But yesterday, from the same piece of paper, I did first this blue sun. I like the idea of using cold colors to make a sun. I really like how this turned out. And then I also made this purple and silver little star yesterday evening. Let's now talk about the art supplies that I use. So I have a couple of them here. I just thrifted those. I love those. Those are the one I've been using the most right now. And we have these Artex markers. I'm going to show one to you just to let you know, but I'm going to show you the whole set in a second. So this is the acrylic marker set. They have different ones. This is like the pastel one. It doesn't say nothing on the box, but I think this is called the anime set. This is the set, and I've been using acrylic markers from this set lately, but I have a lot more acrylic markers because Ohu sent me a lot of sets. Most importantly, they have like these metallic ones, fine liner, like they have a thinner point, a thinner tip, the silver one and the gold one. I've been using those on all of my experiments. The gold one I don't know if you can see. In this one right here, I didn't use any other acrylic markers, but I used Halco markers. And it is again a set by Artex. I'm going to show it to you. And it is this set right here, which they give. I think this was the first thing they gifted to me. And this is the set, and I've been using those for my experiments as well. Now moving on to the Ohuhu sets that I'm using, these two as well as right, I've been using this also for work. I completely forgot about it. I usually don't correct my my drawings, but with the comic book there are some things that, since it is for work and here in Italy it is going to be published by a comic book collective, it needs to be a bit more polished. So I'm using the Ohuhu acrylic paint pens marker, the white one, to correct few mistakes in my comic book project. So this also would go on the work category. And those are from this set right here that for now is my favorite. It is acrylic paint markers, 24 color set, both fine and broad nibs. So they basically have multiple pages, let's say, of markers, and each row has the same colors in big nibs and fine nibs. The other day I went to my parents' house and me and my sister started watching Supernatural actually, and I brought with me, since this is heavy, this is chunky, this is a big one, I decided to bring with me this other one, which is still an 24 colors acrylic marker set. This one is the Nahuku set. I don't think I pronounced it correctly. Love the colors in this one. And those have a brush tip, I think. So this is how they look like. And they look basically pretty similar to the Artex ones. And then of the sets that I am using, I think I used once this other set right here, which is a 36 color set, but these ones have a very thin nib, if I remember correctly. No, double, okay, those have the double nib. I think I damaged this one, but yes, a thinner nib from one side and a thicker one on the other side. Now, last but certainly not least, I know you want to know about this. I just know you want to know about this. You want to know about my sketchbook. Now, a lot of you have been asking about my sketchbook. And let me tell you, my sketchbook is not a sketchbook, okay? I made this. Now, I actually, I think the last Artist Way episode, I actually showed you that I had to separate the contents of my journal, everything journal, because it was getting way, like this was how chunky it was getting for a single one. So this is a planner, let's say, that you can open up with the rings. Originally, this is how it looked like. So I'm going to show it to you, and this is how it would have looked like. So it had this fake leather cover that I have personally decorated with stuff I printed out, and it also has a bunch of stuff that I have put in there. This part right here in the back would slide in this pocket. So this would go in, and then you would close this up. The cover was making it significantly wider and heavier, and I started preferring to use it outside of the cover, and I ended up loving this solution. So I now use this as just a folder. I have then separately bought those little envelopes, transparent envelopes, and the white pages, blank pages, okay? Then for this other one, which was another planner, it was wider and this part would go all around it. Of course, I hated it because it was too big for me to carry around, and so I basically cut it out. I cut it out the cover and cut it out all of this part. It was significantly wider. It was even wider than this. And so I separated my journaling from my sketching, even though in the last part of this one I also have dotted pages. So the brand for this one, which again looked like this originally, is, I have it here on my phone, Wazon, I don't know, it is spelled Wason. And this is the A5 diary. So I'll put a picture right here and I'll link it down below. This is my sketchbook. Let me show this to you. This was gifted to me and I specifically asked for this set when they reached out to me, because this is just black acrylic markers and they have both a brush tip and a fine tip, and those are just black. I use these not so frequently. For the longest time, I've been planning to get back to a couple of canvases. I don't know, is the plural of canvases? For the longest time, I've been thinking about using those markers like I would use my fountain pen to draw a bigger art piece, but I still haven't done this. I actually moved to even smaller surfaces with the rocks. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed my little art supplies tour. If you did, make sure to like this video, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and stick around if you want to see what I do with those art supplies, and if you want to know what I have to talk about in my next comic book project update. If you're curious about my project, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you have any art supplies recommendations, please drop them in the comments, and if you like to discuss how you use maybe the same art supplies I showed you in this video, drop it in the comments. I would love to hear from you and to start a conversation about creativity and art processes. So if you stay till this point, thank you very much. I will see you very soon with more art videos. In the meantime, let's make art. Bye.